The fantasy football entourage for winning.
Welcome, Entourage. Today's been kind of a weird day. Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, it's all been down. My normal camera is not working. I guess it's a case of the Mondays, but I wanted to make sure that I got online before tonight's game, did a quick recap of all the games on Sunday. Another fascinating day. It's never a dull moment in the fantasy world, and we got to make sure we go over all of that today. And as always, guys, if you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment, and we'll get to that, guys. All right. Well, let's not waste any time. And let's start with the Washington or Team Washington and the Atlanta Falcons. Taylor Heineke did what he needed to do. Atlanta was the most generous team against quarterbacks. He had 290 yards, 3 touchdowns. Antonio Gibson, he's hasn't broken out quite yet. Obviously, he had a touchdown, so we'll take it. But I feel like a lot of running backs haven't quite broken out yet, and I think the best is yet to come for Antonio Gibson, Nick Chubb, a couple others. Not ready to jump on the bandwagon just yet, but we would like to see them a little more involved, get some of that elite usage. Terry McLaurin, though, he was one of my favorite receivers going into the season. He sure didn't disappoint. Everybody pretty much did what they needed to do against this bad Atlanta secondary and team overall. Logan Thomas looks like he left the game early with an injury. He was looking really good this year. Unfortunately, we don't know the extent of that, or I don't know the extent of that right now, but hopefully everything will be okay. The man of the game, though, if we look at the box score here, Cordell Patterson, 6 carries, then he had another 5. So he led the team in rushing and receiving, 3 touchdowns, and doing this all while playing only 30% of the snaps. I don't expect that type of efficiency to last, especially for a player breaking out at the age of 30. But you know what? Enjoy it while it lasts, because he's looked good. It doesn't look fluky, but you got to question, when will he eventually, how I say, turn into a pumpkin? Matt Ryan had a decent game. Team Washington, talk about disappointments. We usually don't mention defenses a whole lot, but out of all the players, I think Team Washington is one of the biggest disappointments, definitely for me. I had high hopes. I think I had them ranked number 1, actually, them or Pittsburgh, coming into the season. So their secondary is just atrocious. It's just really bad because Matt Ryan, I'm sorry, he's nothing special. No Julio Jones, still manages to put up 4 touchdowns. Calvin really is getting an abundant amount, an excessive amount of targets, 13. Providing fantasy owners with a safe floor, 7 for 80, but hasn't had that big boom game. But I feel that will be changing rather soon. Okay, let's go into the next game here. Is the Lions or the Texans and the Bills. Josh Allen, definitely kind of a disappointment. Texans are not very good, but I guess, he kind of played down to the competition. They didn't really need him to do a whole lot when you beat a team 40-0. Devin Singletary led the backfield, but Zack Moss had the touchdown. So Zack Moss, he's pretty much a must start. He's a solid RB2 moving forward, being that he is the goal line back and the main pass catcher in that offense. Dawson Knox has been on fire. Another 2 touchdowns for him. Stephon Diggs, I thought he'd get 1 or 2 this game. But again, they didn't really need these guys to do a whole lot. And he still gave you a pretty decent game. And you can't complain having over 20 points in PPR. Texans, nothing worth mentioning here. But I will say this. Sometimes we learn a lot about a player in a loss or in a game where he doesn't really do that good. Look what happened with Brandon Cooks. Should be his hardest game of the year. Still had 5 catches for 47 yards. I will take that any day in a game where you get blown out 40-0 and have to go against one of the best corners in the league, Tre'Davious White. That tells me more. When you could still look, football is a team sport. Fantasy football is a team sport. You didn't draft Brandon Cooks to rely on him. And even if you drafted a player in the first round, guess what? Players have clunkers. You know what? But if your worst game can still be 9-10 points, which gives your team a chance because other players have to step up, it's about a team game. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I always, focus on drafting a deep team, making sure everybody in your lineup contributes, can provide you with a safe floor. So this game tells me a lot more about Brandon Cooks, and I feel even more confident. Look at CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb only got us 3 points, And again, as not to say I'm down on CeeDee Lamb. Travis Kelce didn't do crap. Dalvin Cook didn't do anything. It just goes to show Tyreek for 2 weeks didn't do anything and just burst with 2 touchdowns. So anybody is allowed a clunker, but when you're bad, when your worst game is still 9 to 10 points, I like that. I'll tell you. That shows me a lot. Next game, Panthers and Cowboys, or I'm sorry, I keep saying the wrong game. Lions and Bears. Jared Goff, if you're in 2 QB leagues, Jared Goff was probably the last quarterback taken, and he's been very startable in Superflex and 2 QB leagues. 299 yards and 2 touchdowns on the road with absolutely no receivers. I'm quite impressed. Again, sometimes you learn a lot in these losses and stuff. David Montgomery, I'm not going to talk about TJ Hawkinson had another bad game. David Montgomery had a great game. 2 of those touchdowns that he had both came in the first quarter. The only bad thing is that he got injured that game. However, there is some positive news that they don't believe is the ACL. So hopefully it's just a hyperextended knee. He'll be out 2-3 weeks at most, and we can move on with our lives. That's why I always say if you don't got 6 running backs, you don't got 9. Especially, most of you guys drafted, Kenny Gainwell. So that's good. Most of you guys are going to need to play Kenny Gainwell. So at least a lot of the running backs that we drafted, say what you want about Chubb or Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, at least they're playing. They could play better. I think they will play better. But, a lot of people are getting injured. Dalvin Cook's already missed a game. Josh Jacobs has missed a game. So it's tough sport. And then Darnell Mooney, he's actually the leader in targets for the Bears. 5 catches, 125 yards. So you got to like that. Again, I think it has to do more with the matchup. But, not that anybody started Mooney. And that's why I preface that. You may want to, I wouldn't feel comfortable starting Mooney. Or, you could use a waiver on him. But yeah, he's not necessarily a savior or anything like that, but given the talent, given that he's leading in targets, I think he will be worth a waiver. Allen Robinson continues to disappoint. I think Allen Robinson, say what you want, because at least Jonathan Taylor had a good game this week. He was my biggest bust, but I think Allen Robinson's probably the biggest bust in the entire fantasy football season because he was probably drafted round 3 or 4, and he's absolutely shown us nothing. So, sucks for him. Panthers and Cowboys. Wow. Cowboys, to me, have looked the best. I think they are the best looking team right now, at least in the NFC. Because the Bucs, really good team. Their defense is kind of iffy. But Dallas, I think top to bottom, even though their defense did give up 28 points, but man, to drop 36 on Carolina, the way their defenses look, that's quite impressive, especially Zeke Elliott, 143 yards on that rushing defense and that front 7. Very, very impressive. Dak Prescott, 4 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb was the clunker. Dalton Schultz has been on fire. 6 for 58 and a touchdown. Amari Cooper had a touchdown after having 2 clunkers. CeeDee Lamb we talked about. I expect much better games out of him moving forward. Even Tony Pollard, 10 carries, 67 yards. That's not bad. Didn't have anything in the passing game. Neither running back did. And then on the Panthers side of the ball, Sam Darnold leads the league in rushing touchdowns. That's how crazy it's been, guys. A quarterback, not even a running quarterback. You would have told me Lamar, fine. But Sam Darnold, that's crazy. Another 300-yard game for him, 2 on the ground, 2 in the air. DJ Moore has been on fire. And I don't think it's going to stop. Like, I expected this from DJ Moore. Like somebody wrote, in Twitter, well, he's projected for 120 catches, 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns. And then somebody put unsustainable. Well, maybe he won't get those. But, actually, I think he could get those numbers. We got an extra game. Why can't DJ Moore? The talent's definitely there. Those numbers have been put up before. It's not like, sometimes when a player starts off hot and he's, on pace for 3,000 yards receiving and on 200, no, we've seen players get 120 receptions in 16 games. Why can't he? I'm not saying he's going to get 120 receptions, almost 1,600 yards. But I think it's possible. I think it's possible to at least get close to it. Definitely over 100 receptions, 1,500 yards, definitely over double-digit touchdowns. Why not? He is being used in the red zone. So I absolutely love DJ Moore. He's one of my favorite receivers moving forward just because of the way they're using him. He is their number one target, and he's been consistent. Talk about a floor. He has been consistent every single game. Let's see if we could see his per game stats here. But talk about consistency, dude. Oh, man. So look at that. 6 for 8, 80 yards. 8 for 11, 9 yards and a touchdown. 8 for 12, 126 yards. 8 for 12, 113 and 2 touchdowns. That's what I call consistency. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So you gotta love that. Gotta love that. Moving quite along here. Next up, Colts and Dolphins, one of those games. Jonathan Taylor broke out 16 carries. Listen, man, it pains me to say this, but I have to be responsible. As much as I like Jonathan Taylor, he's probably going to be on my sell list. And it has nothing to do with him coming off a good game. Well, it has partially to do with that. I'll have to look at the game further. Because remember, guys, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a visual person. And something tells me up to this game, he was on the injury report with a knee. Nobody knows anything about a knee. We just know it's a knee. That's one red flag. 2 red flags. Again, I didn't look at the game, but I did watch his highlights. And he didn't look the same. He did not look the same. And again, that's why you got to sometimes read. And I could be wrong, and I'm going to look into this game further. But my initial reaction when I watched the game, and again, it's Miami, so anybody could run on Miami. Peyton Barber had a career high in Miami, so I'm not going to be skewed by the numbers. Yes, the numbers were there. But looks-wise, he looked a little hobbly, and that scares me. And remember, we want to get out of this. It's just like if you have a poor stock, right? If you had a poor stock and has a good day, but you think that it could go back down, sell that thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I think you could still get good value for Jonathan Taylor. And even if we're wrong, as long as we get a good player or two in return, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And we'll go more into detail. And again, I'm going to go look further into this, but y'all always ask me, are you worried? I'm a little worried. Carson Wentz, efficient, not bad on the road, 228, 2 touchdowns. Miami secondary, pretty decent. Michael Pittman seems to be his favorite target. He's a buy low candidate, 6 for 59 against a decent secondary. Dolphin side of the ball, Devontae Parker and Jacoby Brissett might have something going there. Not somebody I feel comfortable starting. The only Dolphin I feel comfortable starting, Mike Gesicki, another 557 touchdown there. So he looks pretty much like a must start, especially given the tight end climate that we're in. Myles Gaskin looks pretty much droppable at this point. Again, bad offense, not an elite talent, bad offensive line. He was on my do not draft list, those who have been paying attention, so I'm not surprised. Definitely not worth his pick or his draft stock. Browns and Vikings. Wow. Just when I was praising Cousins, he goes back to being the player I've been critical of his whole career. I've always said this about Cousins. Cousins plays good against the bad teams, and then he's like Derek Carr. Don't be surprised if Derek Carr throws a clunker tonight. I'm calling it tonight because we've seen this, guys. I think Derek Carr, remember that Spider-Man meme? You is you, he is he. That's who Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins are. They could look really, really good, elite, and then just when you start having your faith, clonk. We've seen this before. And what I thought, I liked Kirk Cousins. I thought he was a must start this week. I think he was the number 7 QB in fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, so far. At home, Cleveland very good against the run, so I got that part right. They shut down Cook. So I thought, yeah, if they shut down Cook, Cousins is going to throw. He should have a good game. No, what happened was that offense goes through Cook. And because Cook demands so much attention, it opens it up for Cousins, and he couldn't get it done. They shut down Cook. They shut down Cousins. Very, very disappointing game in Cousins because Cleveland's secondary is nothing to write home about. Now, I know you guys, a lot of you are wondering about Chubb.
Smile.
Right? I get it.
Her smile is as fake as her life.
Here's the thing.
Why did you let this troll get in your head?
Volume,
Being told the truth.
The Premise, now streaming exclusively FX on Hulu.
I think snaps are overrated. I've said this before. It's about touches, right? Look at Cordell Patterson, 30% of the snaps, but he still had a lot of touches, right? So let's break down Chubb, because I know a lot of you guys got Chubb, so let's talk a little bit. 21 carries. You got to like that. I had to go back and look at the film, whether or not Hunt came at the goal line because to give Chubb a breather. However, regardless, players get sniped touchdowns. That's, unless you're Derrick Henry. But remember, Entourage, part of the reason I like Chubb so much, I've told you this. I will forego some upside for some security, especially in the first round. So has he been there for us? Yeah. Right now, he's like RB13. He's one good game from being an RB5. You know what? If we're going to be critical of Chubb, Cook did absolutely nothing, and he missed the game. So in the last 2 games, Cook got 6 points, and he went ahead of Chubb. So I'm just trying to put everything in perspective. Is Kareem Hunt annoying? He is. But at the same time, I like the fact that he got 21 carries still. He got 100 yards still. He was just missing the touchdown. Obviously, didn't get many targets, 1 catch, 5 yards. So that's how I feel about Chubb. But here's the thing. As the season goes down, all we want to do, Entourage, all we want to do is stay in playoff contention. Stay about 500. Because those of you who have been to me before, we just want to be in there to give time for our players to develop. Because most of our players, guys, I get players who are going to be there for us at the end. That's why I tell you to avoid the Debos, the Cooks. I get it. They're doing really good now. And you may have heard me say this time and time again. The analogy, baseball, the pitchers or the hitters are ahead of the pitchers. The offense is ahead of the defense, right? So a lot of these players, they looking good and stuff. But who's proven? Who's proven to be there for us? Who's proven to stay healthy? Who's proven? Chubb is a proven commodity. Every football player gets hurt. I want to hear how he missed 4 games, okay? Let's face it. Everybody gets hurt. I'm talking about injury prone, like Will Fuller, Debo, all right? Once the weather starts cooling down, you think anybody wants to tackle that motherfucker? All right? So don't worry about Chubb. I get it. It's frustrating. But listen, nobody's getting, outside of Derrick Henry, CMC, and Barkley, and CMC's already been hurt, nobody's really getting 80 or 90% carries. Oh, yeah, Darrell Henderson. But what happened to him? He got hurt as well. So, again, we gotta take the good with the bad. Chubb might forego some of that upside, but at least he's giving us a floor, and he's just one big game away, which can happen at any moment, from being a top 5 running back right at the cusp of RB1. So relax with Chubb. I know we want these players to be more than what they are, but if we look at running backs and we look, even players that were drafted, Barkley didn't do shit for 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? CMC's hurt. Dalvin Cook didn't do shit for 2 weeks. So everything in perspective, guys. Everything in perspective, all right? And I'd be the first to tell you, look, guys, I just told you, I love Jonathan Taylor, and I'm telling you to sell him. So I'm always honest with you guys. And I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm willing to cut my losses early, so this way it has minimal impact on your team, because we're all going to be wrong, okay? We are. Who would have predicted Cordell Patterson's the RB2 right now? But the point is to get more than right, and the point is to put you in position to win and build, all right? What else we want to talk about? Yeah, we talked about Cook being a clunker, Justin Jefferson. You know how I feel about Jefferson. DK, Jefferson, and CD Lamb, even though he didn't have a good game. Those are kind of like my favorite. Oh, and Terry McLaurin, of course. Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore. Those are my guys. You guys know. So Justin Jefferson, as a bad man, there ain't no stopping him. But Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins, talk about clunker. OBJ, what did he do? Nothing. Yeah. Not much to do when you throw for 157 yards. Giants and Saints. Boy, oh boy. Let's talk about this. Danny Dimes on the road. No receivers. Remember, Sterling Shepard and Slayton were out. Galladay's hobbled. And he looked hobbled. Like, even in that play, he had that big play at the end. He was like, he should have took that to the house. But I got to give credit. He gutted it out. He's a great receiver. It's just he's a scary receiver because, he's always injured, it seems like. Just the way he plays, super aggressive. But, man, Barkley, guys, Barkley is back. And I told you guys, I was like, look, when I saw him on film, initially early in the offseason, I didn't like, that he wasn't practicing, that he wasn't giving us too much. And remember, I told you guys, I was like, I think Joe Judge is playing with us. I think he's using the old Bill Belichick, doesn't want to disclose injuries. I think they were just really taking their time with Barkley. He's their prized possession. And man, is that paid off. Because from game 1, I told you guys, I said, he's back. He looks back. They just don't want to overexert him. And I think they made the right move because he looked back from game 1. From the first game, I said, he looks explosive, which is very different from when he came back in 2019 from a high ankle sprain. Not as well, it's a pretty bad injury. Just doesn't take you out the whole year. But he looked more not himself coming off that high ankle sprain than he did off this ACL. And Barkley is back. And I've been telling you guys since the first game, bye. Now might be too late. Man, did he look good. Man, he did it on both. 4.0 against New Orleans. That's a good yards per carry. And Danny Dimes, 4 receivers over 70 yards. Kadarius Toney showed a post. John Ross. We're not picking these guys up. But especially not John Ross. John Ross is always good for that. One long pass, one big play. Everybody gets excited because he's the fastest player since, I don't know, doesn't he have the combine record for the 40 time? And then right when you get excited, he gets injured. So, yeah. But, yeah, Galladay, 6 for 116 against Lattimore on 1 foot practically. Barkley, 5 for 74, had that 54-yard catch. Talk about big players, dude. And Barkley's my favorite player. But I'm definitely not being a homer because we know what he's capable of, right? So, yeah, a lot of analysts, they're not going to be happy because I know a lot of people are avoiding Barkley. Alvin Kamara, 26 carries. I never thought I'd see that. That's weird. That's weird to me. That would be concerning, especially when no catches. Marcus Callaway, another one, guys. Another one. Last week was New England. Tough matchup. Scores a touchdown. This week against James Bradbury, tough matchup. Still led the team in yards, right? 74, I know. It's 9.4 points. But, guys, what I finished telling you, it's all about what's your floor and what's your trajectory. He's still their best receiver, and there'll be better days to come because he's had a brutal Carolina, Zaire Alexander, James Bradbury, New England. Like, as for the first four games, it could not get more brutal unless he goes and plays Buffalo. I haven't looked at the schedule. Unless he goes and plays Buffalo next week and Tre'Davious White, it can't get, or Jalen Ramsey and the Rams. There should be better days. So hold on tight, guys. Marcus Callaway should be okay. Tony Jones got injured this game. We'll have to see what's up with him. Yeah, that's that. Titans and Jets. My man, Zach Wilson. I mean, look, I'm a realist. It came against the Titans. But I feel real bad. I feel real because this kid, man, he's going to be great, guys. So this year, maybe to the second half, they could fix their offensive line woes. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of weapons, but maybe with Davis, Crowder, Elijah Moore, they could give him enough. The running backs, Michael Carter, no tight end, no offense. Like, it's tough. But the good news is 297, 2 touchdowns. That was good. And then they play Atlanta, the most generous team for quarterbacks. So he might be able to build on this. But I love him. More of a long-term play. Corey Davis, I love this. I mentioned that. Going against your old team, going against a weak Texans secondary. Got to like that. 111 yards, touchdown, 4 receptions. Jamison Crowder, first game back, 7 for 61. Got to like that as well. Derrick Henry, 33, 157 and a touchdown. The guy's a beast. But Tennessee, talk about bad vibes. Yeah, I don't know. Tennessee, the Colts,
Sheldon,
Miami.
good to see you.
These teams.
I can see you're upset. But when we said ditch the shells, we were talking about pistachios, not you.
Oh, you mean these pistachios? Oh, no, you look upset. You okay, John?
It's not going to look pretty with Jalen Hurts, but he's putting up points. 387, 32 of 48. No picks. 8 carries, 47 yards. Jalen Hurts, one of my favorite quarterbacks going into the season. I know I told you guys to sell, but here's the thing, guys. Okay? I tell you guys to sell, not because they're bad players. I tell you guys to sell so you could get even better players. Like, the thought about selling a player, even though I didn't put them on my videos, just in case you're asking, all right, guys? The thought is to get the maximum return. The thought is if you need players, if you're weak at a position, then sell a position of strength. But Jalen Hurts, with that said, still said he's going to put up points. Now, granted, at home, Kansas City's the worst defense. So let's put everything in perspective, all right? But Jalen Hurts is a baller. He's going to put up points, all right? I'm just trying to get you guys to get the most return. All right, just like Devontae Smith, 7 for 122. Again, not every game is going to be like this. Not every game you're going to face the Chiefs. So that would be a sell high candidate. Kenny Gainwell, on the other hand, Kenny Gainwell has been better than Miles Sanders. He got more yards, more points. Yes, he has 11 more points than starter Miles Sanders. So Kenny Gainwell is a keeper. Some of you guys, myself included, might need to start him as well because of the way RB climates is, injuries or whatever. So Kenny Gainwell was an absolute steal. I have him in every single one of my leagues, and a lot of you do too. So that's good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, mentioned him last week. You know, everybody was so down on Helaire. He's still the number one back, still getting the most touches, still getting a ton of snaps for the number one offense. Like, people need to relax, especially the way this running back climate has been. Back-to-back weeks. Now, this one I didn't expect. Chargers I expected because Chargers can't stop anybody on the ground. This one showed me something, though. 14 carries, 102 yards against what's usually a good run defense. However, I'm starting to think this season Philadelphia isn't exactly the best run defense, with that said. Reason but why? Zeke ran all over him. Now, of course, Zeke ran all over Carolina, so maybe that's a bad example, but still doesn't feel like the same Philadelphia is like before. They used to dominate. Like, you couldn't run on them whatsoever. So that's going to be something to monitor. Tyreek, man. If those of you who have been with me, I'm assuming a lot of you have, watched this consistently. What do I usually say about Tyreek? I say this, wait, who's the other player I say this about? Aaron Jones. It's like the tougher the competition, the better these players play. I went into the game, I was like, look, and I said exactly this. I said on DFS, I believe I said on a preview, I go, look, Tyreek has the hardest matchup, but Tyreek tends to play great when in the toughest matchups. Like, he's eaten up some great corners. I remember the game against Carlton Davis. He had like 200 yards on him. Carlton Davis, arguably a top 10 corner. San Diego, LA Chargers. He used to eat up Casey Hayward. Like, Tyreek's a baller, man. And he did it once again. 11 reception, 186 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? That dude is great. That dude is great. You can never doubt him. I'm just mad I didn't, start him in more DFS leagues as a contrarian play. I definitely informed you guys. I put him as one of my players that I like this week. So I did do that. But should have been in more lineups. Kelsey laid a clunker. It happens. Don't trip. Mahomes, casual, 5 touchdowns. But Philly is just – their defense is just on a downward spiral. Which could be good news for Jalen Hurts, though. Dallas Goedert has been consistent. I did say I liked him last week. Scored a touchdown. I said I liked him this week. Good player. Good player. Next. Cardinals and Rams. Shit. I did not expect this. I did not. It just goes to show how underrated sometimes coordinators are. Because this Rams defense has not looked the same. They didn't, last year's Rams, and this is basically the same team. Last year's Ram defense would have slapped up the Colts. They slapped up the Cardinals. And I noticed this Rams defense is not the same. Their offense has been, doing their thing. But this defense is not the same. Last year's defense would not, absolutely not let Arizona score 37 on them. Murray struggled quite a bit. Now, I do think Murray could be, possibly maturing. I get all that. But they just struggled against the Jacksonville Jaguars a week before. So I'm really, really, really shocked by this one. So I am concerned about the Rams defense. Oh, my point was their coordinator moved over to the Chargers, which is why I like the Chargers so much defensively, or as a team. I think they're a dark horse for the Super Bowl. It just goes to show. Look what he's done with that Rams defense. You know, Dallas has been beating up on everybody, and they played it close. They barely let Dallas score. They lost that game, but it was close, right? And yeah, they miss him. The Rams defense is not the same. Interesting. Darrell Henderson, first game back, had like 90% of the snaps, I believe, or close to it. Some of that might have been due to Sony Michel fumbling because he didn't get much burn after that. Darrell Henderson's looked good. But again, injuries are a concern. But got to give credit where credit's due. Van Jefferson, this guy has, if you have my premium content, he has been on my waiver wire gems and free agent finds every single week. Why? Because talent over everything. Remember, guys, he was a second-round pick. He runs like a 4.35, and he's like over 6 foot, six something. Let me see. Like, this guy, like people tripping out over Robert Woods. Well, and people are just shocked when I told you Cooper Kupp's the better receiver. Robert Woods he's good, but he's not special. Okay. This guy's every bit as talented, if not more talented, probably more talented to be quite frank. And yeah, and we're seeing it. He's 6'1", he runs like a 4.39, something like that. Second round pick. And this is what you like to see, guys. This is what you want to look for. I like getting players who are on the uptrend. So does it show? Doesn't show us. Oh, yeah, it does show. Okay, so his first game, 3 targets, made the most of them, 80 yards and a touchdown. Second game, 3 targets, didn't do shit. Third game, 6 targets, okay, 4 for 42. All right, and then another 6 targets, 90 yards and a touchdown. And I think he should have had 2 touchdowns, but they call him back. So that's what you want to see. A talented player who looks like he's continuing to grow, develop chemistry with this quarterback. He would definitely be on my waiver wire list. All right. Because again, I liked him, and now he's proven it, and he's proven it early, pretty early. Like, I didn't know he was going to be this effective this early, but I think he could build on this. And yeah, I like when players I like are doing things because it confirms what I've seen on tape. Hold on, we didn't talk enough about that. Cooper Kupp, even in a bad game, again, what I look for, even in a bad game, 5 for 64. That doesn't kill you. Zeros kill you 2-3 points. That really hurts. But not every day. Your players are gonna, score 20, 30 points. And that's okay. Most of you guys drafted Cooper Kupp in the 4th or 5th round anyway. He's your wide receiver too, right? Robert Woods, speaking of Robert Woods, he actually did okay, 4 for 48, 1, but they're just not using him like Jared Goff used him. Matt Stafford, kind of a disappointment. Now, saw somebody mention Connor. Connor, I'm surprised he got 18 carries. All right. He's not a good running back. But guess what? If you got him, play him. He's the goal line back for a potent offense. But I'd sell high. Because look, he averaged 2.8 yards per carry. But here's the thing. Chase Edmonds is not a workhorse either. So it's never going to be just one of these guys because Connor sucks. And Chase Edmonds has some talent, but he's just not built to be a workhorse. He's more of a scat back, right? Who's being featured right now. AJ Green, crazy as it sounds, he's doing good. He's been pretty consistent. I think he has more points than D-Hop, if I'm not mistaken. So let's look at his game log. First game didn't do anything. Second game, though, had a touchdown, 6 for 44, touchdown. Third game, 6 for 112, no touchdown, but that's a lot. 6 for 67. So AJ Green, man, it's weird, but he's worth a roster spot. How old is AJ Green now? He's 33. I wouldn't feel comfortable. Like, I wouldn't want to rely on AJ Green, but he's putting up numbers. And Kyler Murray, of course, did his thing. Seahawks and Niners. What is going? Okay, this one I'm just confused about. Pete Carroll got to go. He's a defensive coach. The defense sucks. He hasn't done anything since the Super Bowl run. That's number one. Number two, what is going on with Russ? And what is going on with their offensive coordinator? Somebody's got to take the blame, because I thought Seattle was going to be like this offensive juggernaut. I mean, they scored 28, but Russell Wilson threw for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alex Collins ran for one, or Russ at least ran for one, but 150 yards. I feel like this should be one of the most potent offenses in the NFL. Where are they lacking? They got Chris Carson. They got DK Metcalf. They got Tyler Lockett. Something's got to give. This Shane Waldron guy was supposed to fix all these problems that Schottenheimer had. I just don't see it. DK Metcalf, 8 targets, not bad. 4 for 65 and a touchdown. But, I mean, I do see that they're using DK a lot better. That I noticed. They've been moving him around. They've been putting him on the left, the right, the slot. That's good. So he's definitely a buy low because he hasn't exploded. I think he will. He should. But still, something doesn't feel right with this offense. I expect them more. Chris Carson, Alex Collins looks to be eating it into his touches. I'd be weary if I'm a Carson owner. I'd be looking to get Alex Collins. Alex Collins got 34 yards in the passing game as well, 2 receptions, had the touchdown. He's going to be somebody definitely, worth mentioning. And then, of course, Trey Lance. Lance with Dance, or Dance with Lance. Jimmy got injured. Now, it looks like his injury is a contusion. A contusion is a fancy word for bruise. So I hope he doesn't start. I think Kyle Shanahan will be an imbecile for starting him because, let's face it, guys, they just lost to Seattle at home. Next week, they face Arizona, who's 4-0 and just whipped up on LA. It's inevitable. Jimmy doesn't throw the ball past 5 yards. If they lose to Arizona, which for all intents and purposes I expect them to, they're going to go into the bye week. They're going to start Trey Lance anyway after the bye week. You're not going to lose 2 in a row to 2 division opponents looking and playing the way Jimmy has. Guys, let's cut the shit. You drafted him with the 3rd pick. You traded up. It's like going on a date and you're taking a girl out. You obviously like her. And then you're playing games. Cut the shit. You like the girl. Tell her you fucking like her. You took her out. You've been texting her all day. If you take somebody 3rd pick, you trade up. Don't be coming, Jimmy, he played okay. He looked better in 1 half than Jimmy's looked in 3 years. Cut the shit. Did he look raw? Yeah, he looked raw. Sure. But he made, the way he whips that ball, it's ridiculous. It's like Patrick Mahomes, but he's a better runner. And he's quick. He's like Lamar Jackson light. He's not as fast as Lamar. But even if you see him running, he's decisive. He's off. So right now I say he's the 2nd best running quarterback. I think he's better than Jalen Hurts, who I would put 2nd or 3rd, excuse me. Better than Josh Allen, who I would put 4th. And he could whip it like Mahomes. Yes, he seemed like a little overly aggressive, maybe, because when you got a rocket for an arm, you think you can make every throw. So against a better defense, that's scary, but you live with that. Okay. Look at Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's another one. Yeah. He's causing some turnovers, but you know what? As an offensive coordinator, I don't blame all that on the quarterback. You put him in a position to succeed. You give him safe throws. You give him rollouts. And he's got weapons. Unlike Zach Wilson, Niners have a good offensive line. They have Debo. They have Ayuk, who they don't use for some reason. They have George Kittle. Okay, so at least he has support. But cut the shit. Like, you know what? This is a business. Jimmy knows his days are numbered. And you San Francisco fans that are just defending Jimmy just because he looks like a fucking model, cut that shit out too. Jimmy ain't it. Okay? We know that. We know that. You have to be able to throw the ball past 5 yards in the NFL. Right? That might work against bad defenses when your defense is lights out and your running game is on point. But against better teams in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl, when we need you, that's what I got to say about that. Debo's on fire. Oh, my God. 8 for 156. Again, guys, I never doubted Debo's talent. You never heard me say, oh, Debo sucks or anything like that. But be careful. Every single year, like certain players, they get injured every year. So, but I will say this. Here's the thing, and I will say this, and maybe here's where I'm wrong. All right. In the 8th or 9th round, if you get 4 games like the 4 games you've got, or the 3 games you didn't have a great, that already. So kudos to you. If you started Debo in those games, then you already got an 8th or 9th round pick because those games have been ridiculous. So maybe I need to be a little more, just go and take a Mike Williams and take a Debo, even if I don't think they're going to last all season. Because if you get 3 or 4 games, like the games we've gotten out of Debo and the games we've gotten out of Mike Williams, guess what? It was worth their 8th or 9th round pick. Because every single victory is important in fantasy football. And when you're getting games like that, more often than not, from your 8th or 9th round pick, and you started them more often than not, you're going to win those weeks. Ravens and Broncos. Wow. Another, it's crazy. All these players that are just, and look, we all knew Lamar was a good quarterback, but Lamar barely was. Let's look at Lamar. Hold on. Let me see something here. Well, no, I won't look it up here, but you guys can look it up. Lamar wasn't even throwing for 200 yards last year in a lot of games, half of them or something. He looked really bad. And most of the time, when we see players regress, they regress. This is one of the unique situations. I'll go as far as saying that this might have been Lamar's most impressive game for me, even more than the playoff win. Because the playoffs last year, when he beat Tennessee's secondary, I just finished saying, they're horrible. They just suck. And I know they beat him the year prior. So that was a bigger win, obviously, was the playoffs. But for me, going into Denver, one of the toughest places to play, and that Denver defense has been lights out, to drop 300 on them when you weren't even dropping 200 last year, that to me is impressive. So I got to give credit where credit's due because, again, I've been harsh on Lamar, but it's only because I want to see greatness. And that was big time. That was big time. Marquis Brown, one of the concerns, never doubted his talent, doubted his ability to be consistent. Because so often we see these speedsters, and he's still not getting a lot of receptions, only 4. But when you're getting 49-yard passes, that makes up for a lot. And getting touchdowns when you're not dropping them. So that's something I've been really impressed about. The consistency. The consistency for a speedster with a running quarterback. But it looks like the lack of running game has made Lamar a better quarterback. And I'm excited to see if he could keep it up. I think it's possible. His completion percentage could be better. He's also had I saw a stat where they lead the league in drops as well. So let's see what happens. Good yards per carry here for both Javonte and Gordon. They continue to split. but not much to say. Noah Fant had a good game, 6 for 46. One of my favorite tight ends going in based on where he was going. Had a touchdown. I thought this was a good matchup for him. That's that. And then the Steelers. Wow, this was another one. It's funny because I thought for sure they'd cover. I felt uneasy, but I was like, the Steelers got to cover 7. You know what I'm saying? It's like Green Bay didn't really impress me, to be quite frank. I think they're overrated. I still think they could be overrated, even though they beat Pittsburgh. That goes to show what I feel about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got issues. Number one, the obvious. Big Ben needs to retire. He's old. But the problem is, everybody's like, they shouldn't be playing Big Ben. Have you guys seen Mason Rudolph play? Or Dwayne Haskins? I mean, maybe you give Haskins another try, but definitely not Rudolph. And Rudolph, I believe, is their second quarterback. So everybody going for Big Ben's head, yeah. The alternative, it's not bright. Najee Harris continues to get the workload, man. 6 receptions, 29 yards, 15 carries, 62 and a touchdown. Wow. Volume has been crazy. Juju's been bad. Deontay Johnson's the one bright spot. Well, besides Najee Harris, 9 for 92 and a touchdown. If this guy stays healthy, all he does is ball. He gets double-digit targets like every game. Crazy. This is interesting. Dylan got just as much carries. That was my main concern with Aaron Jones. Not one to say I told you so, because obviously Aaron Jones has looked great up to this. And obviously I told you guys I love Aaron Jones, but this right here is a concern because I love A.J. Dillon. But there'll be better days for Aaron Jones because, look, he made it up with the 3 for 51. So that's one thing I've been really impressed with. I wasn't expecting them to use Aaron Jones as much because in the past, when they use Aaron Jones in the passing game, it's usually been when Devontae Adams is out. He's been playing, and Aaron Jones still. So I like Aaron Jones. But, A.J. Dillon's a little bit of a concern there. But either way, Pittsburgh's very, very tough against the run. If you guys are wondering, I don't know if you're wondering, but I feel some of you guys might be wondering why I might be concerned with Aaron Jones and not with Nick Chubb. Maybe some of you guys are wondering that. Here's why. Aaron Jones
Lowe's showrooms have a variety of stylish flooring.
15 carries. Nick Chubb is getting 22. So I know both players are pretty much in similar situations, but Nick Chubb still gets more usage, I feel like. So that's why. So it was just a preference thing.
Your life might change.
And Aaron Jones,
flooring can
I guess he wasn't. I think he put the injuries.
Get your flooring installed. I'm
not as worried about injuries. But A.J. Dillon, like I said, is a good running back. And then LaFleur splits his running backs a little more evenly. Like Nick Chubb, or I feel like it's been a little more even this year with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But remember last year, Kareem Hunt was more like a game script back, and he was more like a third down back or a 2-minute back. He wasn't getting that many carries at all, pretty much under 10 carries every game, except for maybe 1 or 2, and except for when Chubb got injured. While Jamal Williams and stuff would eat into Aaron Jones' share quite a bit. So that's something to monitor, by the way, because in the beginning, in the first 3 games, A.J. Dillon wasn't getting as much work as we've seen as the week 4. So, which, again, I was a little surprised. I expected A.J. Dillon to do what he did this week, which he didn't do the first 3 weeks. So that's going to be something to monitor. Is A.J. Dillon going to continue to get usage like this week, or is it going to be the Aaron Jones show where he, was getting like 80% of the touches? So something to look for. And then this game wasn't really offensive. I I mentioned I like Leonard Fournette. Best game, 20 carries. Leonard Fournette might be a solid play, to be quite frank. And he's somebody that has low sentiment. But if he's the pass catching back, which he is, 3 for 47, and he can still get 20 carries on any given Sunday and is probably the goal line back, even though Ronald Jones scored this one. I've seen them use Leonard Fournette more often than not in the red zone. Leonard Fournette might be a buy low. New England, I told you guys, Damian Harris gives you nothing in the passing game, and he's going to struggle against better defenses. Jacoby Myers, I liked him this week, 8 for 70. And the rest are kind of like darty. Looks like they're using the tight ends, though, quite a bit. Hunter Henry's been turning up the last couple of weeks, scored a touchdown, 4 for 32. And then John Smith also had a touchdown. They each have 5 targets. So it's been split pretty evenly between Hunter Henry and John Smith, even though Hunter Henry's the better blocker. He's been just as efficient and or even more efficient in the passing game. So there you have it. Oh, Jacoby Myers even threw a pass for 45 yards too. I forgot about that. All right, Entourage. Well, it's getting close to game time, so I don't know how much time we're going to have with questions, but I really want to break this down. Will Curtis Samuel be a factor in Washington? He might be. He's going to be a little darty. Zack Moss for CD. My wide receiver 2 is Ayuk. I would trade Zack Moss for CD, absolutely. Would you trade away Patterson for Henderson in full PPR? I would not. No, I don't think I would. Also, would you trade away Carson for J-Rob in full PPR? I would do that. And yes, please hit the thumbs up on your way out. Why you ain't answer my comment or DM? I need your advice before game day. Because I don't give advice on Sundays. I told you guys, I don't know if you knew this, but Sundays I take that day for me, guys. I don't look at a lot of these DMs unless I use DMs for business purposes only. So if you want one-on-one advice, I have a Facebook group for that, which reminds me, I'm going to have a special this week. Facebook group for the rest of the year is $50 and includes premium content. So make sure you get at me about that. DM me for that because it's a business thing at Fantasy Football Rapper. But yeah, Sundays are crazy. If you want to get questions answered, comment. YouTube's the best way if you want because there's less traffic. You know what I'm saying? So if you really want to ensure you get your question answered, comment on YouTube and not on Sunday. Would you trade away Moss for McKissick and Van Jefferson? No. Unless we find out Gibson's injured. The Spider-Man reference for Carr and Cousins. What are your thoughts on James Conner? We answered that. A rapper up 8 with Eckler, Mike Williams versus Herbert. Oof. That's going to be a close one. I think all 3 can have good games. They got Washington next. Okay, I think you're referring to the Saints, so that means Callaway should have a good game. Trade Cook and Lamb, Godwin for Henry, Lockett, and Henderson. Trade Cook. Probably not. Henry, Lockett. No. As long as you have Madison, Cook will be fine. Thoughts on Van Jefferson? We covered. Need 10 PPR points. Would you play Drake or Barber? Ooh, that's tough. I think Drake might be the safer play because we don't know if Peyton Barber is just exclusively a handcuff. If Josh Jacobs gets injured, which he's playing, but Drake we know either way is going to play. And if Lance starts next week, you like him better than Heineke. It's too early. I have to look at the matchups. Probably nothing to say about Sermon. Yeah, Sermon looked better. So yeah, Sermon might be a thing. I mean, there's nobody else there right now. Elijah Mitchell. I definitely like Sermon better than Elijah Mitchell. I wasn't impressed with Elijah at all. He beat up on the Detroit, but just watching film, the holes were like this big. So not really gonna. How long has he been live? I've been on live for like an hour, right? I need Herbert, score 35 with 6 passing touchdowns. I think Herbert's gonna go nuts. Barber or Roundtree, I'm screwed either ways. I would go Barber. Like you said, you're screwed either way, but you never know. They might want to ease, Jacobs in. He might get hurt again. So Barber has more upside. Tony Jones, a drop with the injury. I don't know how severe it is. So either move him to your IR spot, or you could be a drop if it's going to be a couple of weeks. Wasn't doing much anyway, but a good cuff to have, especially if you're a Kamara owner. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Let me know, again, if you're interested in the premium content. The premium content is $15, or you could get the Facebook and the premium content. Now, that's capped. I'm not accepting more than 20 people because then it gets to be too much. So if you're interested, $50 for the whole year, and you get all your questions answered, guaranteed exclusive lives, roster evaluations, trade questions, the whole nine. All right, guys? I am the only analyst that does something crazy like that. It's a lot of work, but I know you guys like it, and it's cool to have our little tribe. All right, guys, until next time, good luck for those who have players going tonight. Love y'all. Peace. I'm out.